Hello and welcome to another edition of Another Book Review. This week I'll be reviewing An Ugly Truth Inside Facebook's Battle for Domination by Sheera Frenkel and Cecilia Kang. I'll talk very briefly about the author's background before going into an overview of what the book is about. Talk about what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, who I'd recommend the book to, and I think we'll end it there because I'm not quite sure what I'll be reading for next time. Sheera Frenkel and Cecilia Kang are both New York Times reporters on the tech beat. This is, per Goodreads, the first book that either one of them have had published. And what it is a look at roughly 2015 to 2020 inside Facebook. So through telling the story through hundreds of interviews of former employees, current employees, journalists, elected officials, the staffs of those elected officials, would-be regulators, various watchdog groups. So telling kind of all the story of Facebook and really the scandals inside Facebook that occurred during that 5-year period, which is everything from the lead up to the 2016 election, the lead up to the 2020 election, the Cambridge Analytica scandal, the Russian hacking scandal of various opponents of Hillary Rodham Clinton, as well as privacy concerns, the possibility of Facebook being used as a tool to exaggerate ethnic cleansing in certain parts of the world, the possible antitrust issues around Zuckerberg buying WhatsApp and Instagram and kind of integrating those into a single system, really, and then really kind of ending with the COVID-19 response. So I found it to be a really interesting look at those things. I thought one of the nice touches was at the beginning of each chapter, you get the year that the chapter takes place, and you also get a bar with a number. And I believe it's the Facebook valuation for that year. So you really see the kind of unspoken story here is that no matter what scandal Facebook is going through, they still continue to grow and grow and grow after each year. Another big part of the story is the bringing on of Sheryl Sandberg to handle as the COO, really everything that Mark Zuckerberg doesn't want to handle, which is really everything that's not related to the product. So he's really kind of the engineer, software engineer guy. Everything else, the monetization of the site, security of the site, things like that, she's really the day-to-day person per this book. So their relationship I found to be really interesting, the ups and downs of their relationship, how Zuckerberg kind of has changed over time, the feelings of people with him testifying in front of the Senate. So I thought all of that was really, really interesting. Very well reported. I liked those things about it. It's not actually too long of a book. It's only about 300 pages. And you get really the inside scoop of what they were thinking as they went through all these scandals, which I thought was really interesting. If there was things that I didn't like about it, they were relatively minor. There's a couple parts in the book where things are brought up that aren't really directly related to Facebook, like Peter Thiel's trial against Gawker, really proxy trial against Gawker Media, as well as a comment made by Donald Trump about shooting and looting that he made in reference to Minneapolis after the George Floyd had been murdered. I wish they had gone a little bit more detail on those and give you a little bit more context of why some of those things weren't really as cut and dry. I think they kind of took the Facebook employee opinion about things as kind of hard and fast, and I think there's a little bit more nuance there. I realize why they didn't get into like a ton of detail about it, but if you're reading this, you could kind of miss that situation. I don't think was as cut and dry as they made it out to be. There's another really small thing is the book is at times told out of chronological order. It really would have been a lot easier to have just done that linearly. I think that they did that for thematic reasons. So there are some places where the first chapter doesn't take place in 2015, it takes place in a different year, and they jump around in time a little bit, and I found that to be really more confusing than it should have been. I think they could have done a linear telling of the story, even if they had to start back with a pretty minimized or shortened, summarized version of the founding of Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg's role in the founding of Facebook and all that. I think they could have told that in the beginning and not lost a lot of the audience, but instead they kind of jump back and forth in time a little bit, and I found that to be a little confusing. Overall, I think if you're interested in Facebook and where they've been, the reason they make the decisions they make, and really just understanding Mark Zuckerberg, understanding Sheryl Sandberg, I think that would have been, this is actually a really interesting book. If you're someone who really just wants to read one book about Facebook, I would still probably recommend The Accidental Billionaire because I think that book was really entertaining, which became the basis for The Social Network. But I don't know how true that story is. It's a pretty contentious story all around from really both sides. It ended in the lawsuit with the, I'm going to mispronounce the, I can't remember the twins' names, the W twins. I forget what they're, the Winklevoss twins. But that to me, if someone was like, well, I'm only going to read one book about Facebook, why would I read two of them? This book is much more past that time. It doesn't really talk too much about the founding at all. It really briefly goes into it as compartmentalized as it can, as in a as compact of a fashion as it can, whereas that book is really, the whole book is about the founding during the Harvard years and what came after it a little bit. But if you're more interested in what the day-to-day look of Facebook is today, this is the book An Ugly Truth is the book that you want to check out. If you want just an entertaining story that happens to be about the Facebook founding, I would check out The Accidental Billionaire. So those are my recommendations. Like I said before, I'm not quite sure what I'll be reading next, but I will keep you posted. Until next time, please follow the channel, like the video, and subscribe on my Twitter. I'll leave my link for Twitter below. Until next time, bye.